Hey there, shortcuts. Here we have the second list for this week, and this is the genre list. This price list will go out on 9 p.m. At 9 p.m. this Wednesday, June 3rd, Sydney time. So this, as I said on the first video, is a prize week, and the prize is let's have a look, a sealed copy of Chess Records 75th anniversary audiophile repress from the original analog tapes, press secure P, sealed, of Chuck Berry is on top, which features, of course, Carol, Maybelline, Johnny B. Good, Little Queenie, Roll Over Beethoven. This is just a part of the history of rock and roll music. This is a beautiful press, as I said, sealed. So how you win this record worth $75 is everyone who buys a record from this week's list will go into the pot. If you buy 3 records, you'll have 3 entries, and there are 32 records for sale, and the more you buy, the better chance you have, and it's an amazing prize. And so if you would like to buy something from the rock and roll list, which I've just published, which features The Cure and The Smiths and Magazine and Black Sabbath and Steely Dan, Madonna and more, or this genre list, which we'll go through here in a second, which features The Meters and Syl Johnson and Betty Davis and Junior Wells, Tatsuro Yamashita and all sorts of others, then either hang around to the end, I'll give you my email address, or have a look in the notes below and sign up on the Microsoft form. All right, so as a reminder, every record you buy gets you an entry to win Chuck Berry, the sealed Chess Records audiophile version, mastered from the original tapes, manufactured at QRP, tip-on gatefold sleeve, printed on high-grade board. All right, so this is the genre list. We have funk, we have jazz, we have blues, we have soul, we've got heavy metal. All right, let's get into it. I had to start here. I cannot believe I found another pristine copy of this. This is The Meters' Second Line Funk, one of the great funk albums of all time. I'm going to call it of all time. This Second Line Funk was the name given to this album in Japan, but this is effectively, I think, their kind of, I think it's Sissy Strut and others in other parts of the world, but you got Sissy Strut, Punji, Ride Your Pony. This is Art Neville on organ, Leo Noccantelli on guitar, George Porter on bass, and Joe Modeliste on drums. Art Neville also featuring on the vocals of Ride Your Pony and Darling, Darling, Darling. And amazingly produced by the legendary Alan Toussaint. There it is. Album compiled by Hitoshi Koida. So this is a very unique Japanese flavor. They loved this band, and this record has been on my shelf for years, and I love it to bits. There it is on the P-Vine label. It is in perfect condition, complete with the OB, inner record. I don't know if it's ever been played. It's that good. Every instrument on this album is locked in. It has to be one of the great Japanese crate digger records, and it is pure bayou funk. It is stuttering guitar, the drums that, they snap like a gun. The bass lines just make me want to move every time. It's got that New Orleans push. It feels really fresh and vibrant. It's like turning around the corner and walking into a parade. It's so good. I cannot recommend this enough. And The Meters, Second Line Funk, Japanese P-Vine Press. How do you follow that? Well, I'm following this with something that I really like. Now, I'm going to show you my copy. So I've got two of these. This is a record I've had for a really long time, and I've found a second copy. What I try and do sometimes is when I know there's something really good, I try and find another. And this is a compilation album. It is called The New Groove, the Blue Note Remix Project. It is a UK first press from the mid-90s. So that's the insert. So it's and I'll tell you a little bit about why I love this record. So this compilation for me sits at a very specific kind of cultural crossroad, and that is where 90s hip hop producers and electronic artists were openly embracing jazz catalogs as kind of raw materials. And there were a few of these types of records made at the time. There was a Verve remixed record that I know you love, and there's others that do as well. There was Jazzmatazz, there was Mad Libs kind of leaning into this space. Maybe that was a little bit later. But the New Groove in the UK became like an early, let's call it, official stamp of that movement. And they connected that movement very clearly to Blue Note's legacy of kind of contemporary meets, I suppose, the history of American jazz. And so what you get on this record are tracks by the likes of Cannonball Adderley, Donald Byrd, Grant Green, Bobby Hutcherson, Horace Silver, Lonnie Smith, mixed and reinterpreted by acts like Guru, The Roots, Angel, Michael Franti, and Spearhead, Large Professor, Diamond D, and it's really fun. And it is more kind of downbeat and more trip hoppy than some of the others that are out there. I think that's why this one appeals to me. Look, whoever gets this one, I'll be very curious as to what you make of it. And I love the fact that it's on the Blue Note label. Look at that. The New Groove, the Blue Note Remix Project. Anyway, I like this very, very much indeed. Maybe not quite as much as Second Line Funk by the Meters, but very much indeed. I have another album next that I really do think is great, and this is somewhat of a shortcuts kind of legacy artist. Don't get Japanese presses of this artist very much. This is Back for a Taste of Your Love by Syl Johnson. Look at that sleeve, complete with Obi. 1973, first press of this record. Syl Johnson's voice is like a weapon. It's so good. Can do sweet talk, can do gritty, but just has a wonderful kind of groove to it as well on the original London label. And this, of course, is that era of High Records that has that wonderful crisp production. It's the era of Ann Peebles and Al Green, and Syl Johnson deserves to be right up there with those two legends of High Records. Very, very cool. And, if you don't have any Syl, give it a listen. I think you'd be really, really pleasantly surprised. Sonny Rollins passed away this past week, and I don't have any Sonny Rollins records, but it was noted in obituaries and at the time that he passed away right on anniversary of, I think, the birth, maybe 100th anniversary. Anyway, there was a link to this legendary artist, and it is, of course, Mr. Miles Davis. Now, I've been looking for this for a while because I saw it while I was in Japan a couple of years back, but the vinyl wasn't great. this copy is much nicer. This is Miles Davis's greatest hits. This is a very heavy kind of card gatefold version of this Japan only release. Now, what I want to show you is the inside of this. So you've got obviously the intro, but it's one of these kind of interior magazine types, and it's got some absolutely fantastic photos. And look at that centerfold of Miles. It's absolutely spectacular. The photos are almost worth the price of entry alone. These must have been so expensive to produce, these kind of interior booklet records, because no one else really did it. Everything was always separated out in other parts of the world. And then on the record itself, you've got Round Midnight, Milestones, Walking, ESPN, and then on side B, you've got So What and My Funny Valentine. So genuinely classic selection of Miles music in a really lovely, lovely package. All right, I'm going to have to crack on here. I have another sealed record here. This is the Light in the Attic series of Betty Davis releases. This is still sealed. I believe it has a poster and color vinyl and everything else. I'll figure it out closer to the time. But I will note that it was damaged in transit, so there's a pretty significant corner ding here, which will be baked into the pricing. But other than that, it's really nice. First time on vinyl, newly remastered, features Herbie Hancock, Martha Reeves, Alphonse Mouzon, Carlos Morales. Booklet features new liner notes by Danielle Maggio, plus unseen photos and lyrics, released with the full support of Betty Davis. Continuing in the funk vein, I have this, which I just, anytime I see this now, I grab it because the feedback's been so good and so many of you have been trying to find it. The Jimmy Castor Bunch, Super Sound, King Kong, Drifting, A Groove Will Make You Move. There he is in his superhero getup. Classic early 70s funk. Grab it while you can, because again, no guarantee on how easy these things are going to be to keep on finding. And similarly for this blues classic, I have had it quite a few times. Rarer now on the original Delmark label. This is Junior Wells' Southside Blues Jam with Buddy Guy, Otis Spann, and Louis Myers. You know, Junior Wells is Shortcuts royalty. I love him too much, but he is nobility. He is one of the great harmonica players and band leaders, and is a cornerstone of that Chicago sound. And you know, the music he made with Buddy Guy is the best that either of them ever made, in my opinion. All right, I've got something now that I've never had before, and this is really unusual. I don't know if this is a Japan-only release. There's a note on here that suggests it is, but anyway, this is Herbie Hancock, and it is called Trio with Ron Carter and Tony Williams. So it's just called Herbie Hancock Trio. Stablemates, Dolphin Dance. Wow, Dolphin Dance again. So I'll figure out a bit more about this, but Herbie, Ron Carter, and Tony Williams is a bit of a legendary thing. I don't know if this is Japan only. I'll have to figure it out. But something really nice on that CBS label. It's not very expensive. They didn't charge me a lot for it, so it won't be very expensive for anyone to buy. But anyone's a Herbie fan, that's pretty nice. All right, I have some gospel. I love this sleeve. This is, and I just dropped the inner and it flew across the floor. But this is the Gospel Soul of Sam Cooke with the Soul Stirrers. Sam Cooke, Mississippi born. There's some really nice liner notes, which I read earlier, with why I know a little bit of this. The Soul Stirrers were founded in 1934 12 magnificent performances featuring the irreplaceable voice of Sam Cooke. The original recordings that were never ever released until vinyl, on vinyl until this record came out. So never seen this before on a specialty label. I've literally never seen it before. So any who's into Sam Cooke and the gospel end of Sam Cooke will find lots to love there. All right, we have a little bit of city pop. This one is also something I've never had before. This is Tatsuro Yamashita's 1982 album called For You. Tatsuro Yamashita, of course, is an absolute pillar of city pop's kind of studio perfectionism. And he is the songwriter, he's the producer, he plays pretty much everything. And for those of you who are into this kind of era and this kind of space, this record I think will be kind of catnip again. As a reminder, anyone who buys a record, you get an entry to win Chuck Berry Is on Top, a sealed audiophile pressing of that. All right, I have one more compilation, and then I've got some more kind of music on the heavy side. This is a very interesting package. So this is Electric Dreams. Now it's still in the shrink. Can you see that? Electric Dreams soundtrack. This is kind of pure 1980s kind of techno romance. Culture Club, Giorgio Moroder with Philip Oakey, Jeff Lynne, Heaven 17, P.P. Arnold. It's got this really interesting kind of inner as well on the Virgin label. So this is one of the more interesting movie-related compilations from that era. And again, I've never had it before. There's so many on the list at the minute that are new, and I've been doing this for so long, and there's still things that are so new and so interesting. You can see it's still got the obi, the kind of, I suppose you call these a hype obi. It's still in the shrink. There's a little bit of wrinkling there, but I think that'll all disappear when you take it out of the shrink wrap. Whoever buys it. So there you go. The soundtrack to Electric Dreams. Now, something a little bit heavier. This is the US first press of the soundtrack to This Is Spinal Tap. Of course, the majestic black sleeve. But there you can see on the inside what you're facing into here. Other Spinal Tap albums you may have missed: Brain Hammer, Shark Sandwich, Intravenous Danilo. So this features The Mighty Hellhole, Heavy Duty, Cups and Cakes, Big Bottom, Sex Farm, Stonehenge, Listen to the Flower People. There you go. The original US first press of the soundtrack to This Is Spinal Tap. And I've got a few more metal records to finish. I'll flip through them pretty quickly here. So I have a Japanese first press of Metal Heart by Accept. And I also have a couple of Aussie presses that are really, really nice. This is the Aussie first press of Screaming for Vengeance by Judas Priest. I also have the UK first press from 1984 of Disillusion by Loudness. And then finally, the Aussie first press of Metal Madness, which was the 2 LP kind of compilation of a lot of classic metal from the time. So you've got Warlock, Wasp, AC/DC, Lita Ford, Quiet Riot, Motley Crue, Rat, Rose Tattoo, Motorhead, Dio, Judas Priest, Spinal Tap, who we've just been talking about, Accept, Black Sabbath, Kiss, Canned Heat, The Rods and Crocus. So 2 LP Metal Madness, 2 heavy albums for the price of 1, the hype sticker says. So there you have it. Pick up any of those and you will get an entry to win Chuck Berry is on top. The Chess Records audiophile pressing, that's still sealed. As always, please leave me a comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you would like to be in the price list, which will be published this Wednesday, the 3rd of June at 9 p.m. Sydney time, my email is stephen@shortcutsrecords.com.au. Au revoir.